The month of September was a roller coaster, and it really was indicative of how this year has gone. In today's video, we're going to recap all of that for you and walk through a little bit of what we expect to see in October and November leading up into the start of deal season, when I expect to find some good values out there on the market before the end of the year. Before we dive into all of the details here and all of the charts, I want to sum this up for you in case you don't have the 10-15 minutes this is going to take to get to the end. September continued the trend of seeing the amount of homes going under contract increase, more new listings hitting the market, what feels like a more healthy market than we've seen over the last few years. Now, from a buy side, that can be both a good and a bad thing, right? We are seeing some pretty heavy competition out there. There are some multiple offer situations going on once again. But the good news is there is some selection. There's some choice that buyers have. If you're willing to wait beyond the first week or two that some of these homes hit the market, you may be able to find some very good opportunities. So mortgage rates, I don't expect to change too much. Again, we'll get into the details at the end. But basically, you should not expect the market to change remarkably over the coming months. Yes, I think we will be able to cherry pick some deals based on some sellers who may be more motivated than the rest. But beyond that, I expect the market to continue to pick up steam going into next spring. Obviously, yes, things could change. Federal Reserve changing rates again over the next 2 months could happen. That may have an impact. I don't expect it to. But let's get into the details here and give you the context that helps everything I said just make a little bit more sense. So mortgage rates are up a little bit from where we were last month. And a lot of people still think, hey, if the Federal Reserve cuts rates, we're going to see mortgage rates come down. This is the second time that we have seen the Federal Reserve cut rates by 25 basis points, and mortgage rates actually took a small bump upwards in the days following that. So that is normal at this point, because all of the expectation of lower rates, how it's going to impact the investment market as a whole, already gets baked in before the rate actually is decreased, right? The investors, traders are already trading on that well in advance. It ends up being seen more on the expectation of rates changing than when the rates actually change. Now, inventory, we are up from where we started in September, but we are actually down from where we were mid-September. So we've seen things start to moderate a little bit. And as I've been saying, we usually see inventory peak around mid to late October before it starts decreasing down through the end of the year. We're coming up on that time. So as of today, when I'm recording this, October 9th, right, we are back up to 234, up a few percentage points again. I don't think we'll get past about 245, maybe 250 if things get a little crazy, but days on market across the board are still pretty much flat. Still waiting on some data to come in as usual, but prices are showing some strength. That leveling out of single family, I think we're seeing that kind of come to its conclusion before we do see the prices in the charts and then the data I track start to tick back up again, whereas condos continue to just be remarkably, remarkably strong. And new listings. This has been an awesome year for new listings compared to years past. We've already seen about 12% more new listings. About 9% more new listings than we did through this point last year. That has resulted in about 12% more homes going under contract than we saw last year. So new listings, people getting back into the market, does provide more options, more choice for buyers. A lot of these folks are upgrading. I'm currently sitting at a home inspection right now while the inspection is taking place. The sellers here are upgrading to a different property, going from a 3 to a 5 bedroom. So we are seeing a lot of these homes this fall that are hitting the market do have a contingency that the sellers need to find a replacement property before they would be able to close on this one. And that's not as scary as it sounds from a buyer standpoint, because there's two different scenarios you'll see. One is where the seller or the owner is going to test the waters, right, and kind of see what they can get on the market. They haven't identified a property yet. Those are tough. But beyond that, once a seller has already gotten under contract on something to purchase and then they list their home, those are the ones where you're going to find some more motivation. And I can't disclose the details about this one, but this is the best deal that I've been able to find for somebody thus far this year, which has been great. Pending sales, again, this is what's going under contract. You can see that steady upward increase over the last 6 months, and looking back over the last 3 years, you don't see that kind of increase with that many months in a row. So that speaks to the strength of the market now. I would expect that to take a dip down here by the end of October. Not tremendously, though. I think we'll be in that ballpark of where we were in August, at a little over 50 homes going under contract. And that's still phenomenal, especially looking back at past Octobers. Last time we saw that was 2023. So all is well. And in the closed sales market, again, lagging indicator here, but we are about to see the strongest month in the past several years in terms of total homes that are actually selling. Interesting thing here, single family homes, right? We've been talking a lot about this, about how we've seen these ebbs and flows in the single family months of inventory market, right? How long would it take for all of the current inventory to go under contract based off of how quickly things are moving? And we are hitting a low, right? Outside of what we had in 2021, 2022, where everything was turning very quickly. We are continuing to show a lot of strength in the single family market. Um, and that again is going to start to be reflected again in the prices as they continue to head back upwards. Days on market for single families, again, moderating. They kind of seem to have peaked just under 70, and I would expect we stay between 50 and 70 for the foreseeable future. And a lot of that has to do with new construction homes, right? They do take longer to sell. There are still plenty of single family homes that are selling very quickly within days. And those two blended together is kind of where we land at this 50 to 70 day point. Now, for condos and townhomes, again, same story, different month. Very, very strong here. Prices continuing to trend upwards consistently. Again, we're seeing homes that will go under contract at a price that honestly I'll think is a little bit ridiculous until another month or two goes by and we see it one, two, or three more times. You've gone from an anomaly or a record-setting transaction to now establishing the new norm. And that's the conversation I've been having with a lot of clients who have been reaching out recently. I've had a lot of new clients come on board in the last month. And that's a big part of that conversation. Yes, we are heading into deal season where it's not a requirement that you set a record to get something under contract. When we're in the heat of the market, that tends to be how it goes. We've set a couple records over the last month and a half, both on the buy and the sell side. I would expect there are some more opportunities coming up. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute. Days on market, similar to single families, they seem to have peaked and are coming back down. I don't expect we're going to get back to our 2019 timeframe anytime soon, where we were at about 70, 75 days on the market. The new construction duplexes tend to move a little faster than the new construction single families. The price difference is massive. That has a lot to do with it. Now, speed. How many new listings do we need to see one home go under contract? We have seen several months of strength in a row, right? All summer, we were below that 2 threshold, which has become more or less the norm or the average over the past couple of years. And we're seeing that continue to decrease. That's bringing us to the fastest moving year so far since 2021. I don't have a chart for that, but looking at things on an annual basis, that's where we are. And what does that all mean for you, right? If you're looking to buy here, mortgage rates, I don't expect them to change a whole lot. I've been saying that for the bulk of the year once it became clear that we're not really going to see any massive market movers. We should stay in the low to maybe mid sixes, depending on how things go. Yes, you can find a sub 6 rate out there for sure. There is an expectation that there's going to be 2 more rate cuts this year. They haven't really committed to it, so you haven't seen any sort of decrease in the mortgage rates. I think that's part of why they continue to trickle upwards very, very slowly through the second half of September and beginning of October. But I do expect this month we should probably see another 25 basis point cut, potentially another one in December. But again, the more important thing is not necessarily those cuts, it's what's the expectation beyond that. And as jobs numbers have come in and as inflation numbers have come in, everything's still being, I will say, taken into consideration by investors. And that's why I don't think there's going to be any massive movers through the rest of this year. But inventory increase is normal. We usually do see that before, again, toward the latter half of this month, we should see it peak and start to come back down. That's where deal season kicks in. And again, we would be looking for homes that are probably already on the market now, maybe that have been on the market for a few months, where that seller motivation is likely or may increase over the coming months. They may just be ready to go. They may want to be closed before the end of the year. And as showings start to come down, which they haven't yet, the weather's been too good for that, but that can't last forever. And it's funny, there's no way for me to point to this on a chart. I can't show you this, but as long as the weather continues to be good in the fall, even the early spring, late winter, that does put the beach into people's minds. It does make coming down here for a weekend or to come look at some homes more appealing than coming down in the 35-mile-an-hour cloudy grayness that we have here. That's going to be coming sooner than later. So the good weather has, I think, helped move things along, but I do expect that again to revert to normal and not be this way forever. But inventory, as it comes down, yes, there will be fewer choices. It will be incumbent on me to find those opportunities. You're not always going to see it reflected in the asking price out there on the market. Sellers aren't always going to say, hey, let's reduce the price, get some activity. A lot of people are wary of that. And they will keep it there despite their motivation changing. So that's what makes the network that I have with other agents here so critical, because we can have conversations where I can poke and prod and see what I can gather or read between certain lines on certain conversations for my clients. So price is, again, very, very good month. Yet again, I would expect more of the same in October. And I do not anticipate prices coming down anytime soon. So with that said, that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out any of the ways you see here. And I do have one more opening to take on a new client, given the closings that we've had and the amount of people that I've onboarded in the past month. I can take one more. So if you are interested in getting educated ahead of time, even if you're not ready until the spring, happy to have those conversations. But as always, thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.